A few years ago, at the end of a semester in YU, I was headed home for vacation. I was ready for a break. My plan was to take the A train down to New York Penn Station, where I then transferred to the Morrison-Essex line on New Jersey Transit that would take me to my hometown. I made it to the subway on time, and I was headed downtown with plenty of time to catch my subway. All of a sudden, the subway comes to a grinding halt in a tunnel between two stations. The conductor announced that the train was being held due to train traffic up ahead, and that he hoped we'd be moving shortly. Now, those infamous words that are said to passengers in the New York City subway system can mean anything from a delay of 30 seconds to 2 hours. But thank God, the air conditioning was working and the lights were still on in the train. But unfortunately, I was watching the clock tick down to the point where I would no longer be able to make my train home to New Jersey. And eventually I missed my train, but thank God I caught the next one. But while I was sitting on my subway, in the days before cell phone service was available in the subway, I realized I didn't have any work I needed to take care of at that point. My semester was over, the grades were in, and I had nothing pressing that was demanding my attention. So I began to review my semester, and I reflected on what had occurred. I asked myself, did I spend enough time focusing on my mental and physical health? Did I spend as much time learning Torah as I could have? Or was I too much of an academic perfectionist? Did I invest in my relationships with family and friends? Or was I assuming that they would be as strong as they had been before? As a result of this reflection, I was able to make adjustments that helped me maximize on my experience in the following semester. In Parshat Bo, God tells the Jewish people to bring the first Karban Pesach, the first Paschal lamb. It was a tremendous sacrifice because they would be sacrificing the deity of the Egyptian nation, the lamb, the sheep. And God commands the Jewish people to then take the blood of this sacrifice and paint it on the inside of their doorways. And God also tells the people not to leave their homes during the Makkah of Bechoros, the plague of the firstborn. Instead, they should stay at home. Now, one major question that bothers me about these halachos is, why were the Jews told to stay put during this final Makkah while they were eating the Karban Pesach? I would think that it would be more meaningful for the Jewish people to be able to tour the land of Egypt while the Egyptians are being punished, to see the miracles that God was performing on their behalf. Moreover, God didn't restrict the movement of the Jewish people during the other plagues. So why is God telling the Jewish people to stop and stay put during the Makkos Bechoros? Chizkiyahu ben Manoach, also known as the Chizkuni, the 13th century French biblical commentator, provides a profound perspective as to what was going on during this last night in Egypt for the Jewish people. He says that the blood being painted on the doorposts and the lintel was in the shape of a ches, which is the first letter of the word chayim, the Jewish word for life. And it would be a sign that the Malach HaMavis, the angel of death, should not bother the Jews living in this home. But then shouldn't the blood have been painted on the outside? I mean, if you want to put a sign up for someone who is outside the home, you want to put it away from the people on the inside. You want it to be visible to the people in the streets. Why were the Jews told to paint it on the inside of the doorpost? And I believe the answer is that because it was supposed to be a symbol for the Jews inside the homes as well. So the Jews were told to stay put, eat the Karban Pesach, ready to hit the road. They were supposed to be fully dressed with their walking sticks in hand and their camel seats ready to go to be put on the camels that would take them out of Egypt so they could put their kids in it. They weren't supposed to move until God gave them the signal. And I think God was telling the Jewish people to sit with their families and reflect on the journey they would be about to embark upon. A journey that would take them from being slaves to being free people, from the land of their slavery, Egypt, to the land of their freedom, the land where they would have national sovereignty, the Holy Land of Israel, where they would also build a relationship with God. God wanted to ensure the Jewish people would not be distracted by the sights and sounds that they'd be seeing and that they might be hearing that last night in Egypt. They were supposed to stay together and to reflect where they had come from and where would they be going. And they would go through this ches that they had painted into their new chayim, into their new life. Were they to leave their homes during the plague of the firstborn, during Makas Bechoros, they would have missed out this opportunity because they would not have reflected upon what they were about to do, upon what they were about to undergo. You know, right now many people are spending a lot more time at home with their families than they might want to, due to COVID restricting many activities outside of the homes. Now, this may or may not sound like a good thing to have all these families spending time together, but I think we can look at it as a tremendous opportunity. We can reflect on where we are religiously. We can recalibrate our religious trajectory to ensure that we are taking advantage of the time period between now and where we are going once, God willing, the vaccines have made it throughout the population. When we go back into regular life, we now have a tremendous opportunity to look at where we've come from. How we've been living until now. How we've been making as much time to pray, to daven as we could have. Are we taking more time or are we taking less time? Are we spending more time going to prayer services to our local minyan because we don't have anything else to do? Or are we spending time at home? Are we spending less time praying in a group now? And what can we do going forward when we're vaccinated, please God? How can we step up our religious observance? How can we connect to God more deeply than we have before? For one example, many people are taking advantage of more Torah classes, more shiurim that are being offered by their respective shuls, by their synagogues. Much more is being broadcast over Zoom into one's home than had been available previously. Once this stops, are we just going to say it was nice while it lasted? And we're just not going to make more time to learn? Or are we going to say no? We've learned more than we ever have during COVID. Let's learn even more going forward. Let's take advantage of the classes. Let's ask for more classes. But it's not only about our Judaic learning. Are we spending time in emotionally healthy ways? Are we spending time trying to fill our life with busyness, going to this store, going to this event, and now that we don't have it, we're involved with more wholesome activities? Or are we decompensating now that we're in COVID and spending more time watching movies and whatnot? We now have a tremendous opportunity to think about what we're doing as individuals and what we are doing as families. And let's make the necessary changes now so that we can take advantage of the next few months, God willing, as our COVID restrictions end and we can go back to normal life. To make sure that we are ready for Pesach and we can enter the spiritual time of redemption, the spiritual time of Geula. Have a great week.